The Haiti WikiLeaks report released this week exposes how the U.S. tried to interfere with and block an oil agreement between Haiti and Venezuela. We're joined now by the authors of the report called the PetroCaribe Files, veteran Haiti correspondent Dan Coughlin and Haïti Liberté editor Kim Ives. Dan covered Haiti for the Interpress service from the United Nations and Port-au-Prince between 92 and 96. He's currently executive director of Manhattan Neighborhood Network. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Begin by talking about how you got these documents, Kim.
We got in touch with WikiLeaks, actually a coalition of journalists, and they essentially said we're going to provide to Haïti Liberté these documents, and we have 6 months to basically treat the 1,918 documents, and comes to about 6,500 pages.
So this is, in essence, a secret history of what's happened in Haiti now, because obviously the U.S. Embassy in Haiti has played such a huge role, sometimes a bigger role than the actual government, so most of the time.
Right, exactly. It's really amazing to see an ambassador pushing around a president and all his officials, telling them what to do, that they don't understand this, they don't understand that, trying to tell them what Haiti's interests are. It's the epitome of arrogance.
So you've gotten a bunch of documents, Dan. Talk about the focus of, and you're releasing them over a series of Wednesdays. Talk about this and the heart of this report.
Yeah, no, it's so important what Haïti Liberté and WikiLeaks have done, shedding light on what the U.S. does in Haiti. People don't understand about the dominant role that the U.S. plays there. It's the fourth largest U.S. embassy anywhere in the world. The UN mission in Haiti today is the third largest UN mission anywhere in the world. Haiti plays a pivotal role despite its small size in world history. And what these oil documents show, and especially from a U.S. perspective, when we in the United States, in our workplaces, in our homes, in our community groups, we're raising money for Haiti. We send money for earthquake victims. We send money for hurricane relief. Some of us with our churches go on missions to Haiti to help build the country. But what we realize in these cables that Haïti Liberté has released along with WikiLeaks is that, in fact, the main obstacle to development in Haiti today is Washington, is the U.S. Embassy, was what they do to undermine development. And in this particular case with the oil deal with Venezuela, it was Chevron and Exxon working with the U.S. Embassy to prevent an oil deal that had dramatic benefits for the Haitian people. $100 million a year for the Haitian government to spend.
For the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, they would save $100 million a year?
It's not just the $100 million a year, which is huge for Haiti. It's 10% of the Haitian government budget that they used for things like hurricane relief, for schools, for hospitals. The cables themselves admit that. It's not, quote-unquote, corruption. It's for direct support of the people. But
and this is because Chavez was offering the oil at 40% off the world market price?
That's right. The deal is you get a certain, you only have to pay 40% of the cost of the oil up front.
60%.
Excuse me, 60% up front, and the rest on a 25-year, 1% a year deal. So you're essentially saving 40% of the cost of the oil, and you're using that for direct support to the people. But also, it's part of a package where you're getting electricity to Haiti, and this is something that even the U.S. Embassy recognized. In one cable, they wrote how that this PetroCaribe deal is very good for the country, wrote the charge d'affaires for the U.S. Embassy in one of the cables. Port-au-Prince, Gonaives, and Cape Haitian now have electricity thanks to Venezuela and Cuban technicians. Haiti receives shipments of PetroCaribe fuel every 2 weeks, and in addition to the 3 power plants already in operation and promises to modernize the airport in Cape Haitian, Venezuela's oil refinery project, etc. There's tangible benefits to the Haitian people, but Chevron, Exxon, and the U.S. Embassy tried to block this.
Well, one of the cables talked about that the Cubans wanted to replace 2 million light bulbs throughout Port-au-Prince at a cost of $4 million, but that would save Haiti I think $70 million annually in electricity costs, and yet the U.S. Embassy was opposed to it.
Yes, they're completely opposed to it, and it appears simply on geopolitical grounds. And they tell the Haitians this. What's interesting, the ambassador, Janet Sanderson, who's now Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, is going to...
She was Bush's ambassador.
She was Bush's ambassador. Now she's Deputy Assistant Secretary of State. She's going to Preval and the Haitians and telling them, you all don't understand how important our opposition to Venezuela is. Don't do this deal.
Yeah, they said that Venezuela and Cuba appear to be taking advantage of Haiti's electricity gap. That was another quote from Teague, and that this is being used for Venezuela and Cuba to expand their influence.
You know, this is very interesting because we were just down covering the return of the Honduran exiled president, Zelaya, back to Honduras after almost 2 years in exile. And very interesting comparisons to covering Aristide when he returned from South Africa to Haiti. But when we got to Tegucigalpa a few days ago, I talked to Zelaya's former Minister of Culture, Rodolfo Pastor Fasquel, one of those who returned to Haiti with Zelaya. So many people went into exile, afraid for their lives. And I talked to him about the pressure that he described that was exerted on Honduras by the United States.
I was repeatedly approached by American military officers and diplomatic personnel who were trying to discover if I was unsure of myself or unrestful with what we were doing in government and what our plans were for the future. And repeatedly, the theme that came up was that our association with Chavez and Venezuela was or seemed such a threat and such a profoundly disgusting relationship to them, which I never understood why they would think that I would manifest myself against President Chavez. I may not like his personal style sometimes, but I respect him very much as a national leader of his own country, and I was very convinced, I am today as well, that the kind of aid President Chavez was giving our government through PetroCaribe and through ALBA was absolutely necessary at the time. But they were convinced that for ideological reasons, I would manifest myself in sympathy with their alarm.
And if you had, what was your feeling they would have done?
Well, maybe if I was a more sophisticated politician, I should have invented sympathy for their intentions and found out. I was not. I was always very clear and very definitive. What we're doing is what is convenient to our national interest. It is something that is absolutely necessary under the circumstances. If you don't want PetroCaribe to give us 40% credit on our oil bill, give us the credit, and we'll consider substituting their aid for your aid, which never came out.
That was Rodolfo Pastor Fasquel, the former Minister of Culture under Zelaya, who went into exile and taught at Harvard and now has returned back to Honduras.
And of course, Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and Honduras is the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Well,
it's interesting because in the longer version of the piece, which appears in Haiti Liberté, the longer version than the Nation piece, we look at the original proposal from Venezuela was actually made to the government of Gerard Latour II, which the U.S. installed, the puppet government after the coup of 2004. And that government, they make clear in the cables, was very good in observing the rules and saying, oh, no, we're not going to take oil from Venezuela. We're going to go to Mexico. And in fact, Fox in Mexico had devised a plan called the Plan de Puebla or something to basically counter, explicitly, they state this in the cables, counter the PetroCaribe deal. So, this is a very interesting way they're trying to make a really counter-initiative to Venezuela's counter-initiative.
What was also interesting about what Pascal said is he said, if the U.S., if oil companies offered us this deal, we would go with them. But we're getting a deal. We're saying offer us an equivalent deal then.
Yeah, what's remarkable, again, is that we have Venezuela and Cuba helping Haiti out. The Haitians say this is nothing ideological. We just want electricity and development for our country. And sure enough, what happens in a matter of years, Port-au-Prince, the main cities, most of the country, electricity production skyrockets. People now can read their books at night. Hospitals have power. Schools, factories, homes have electrical power that they didn't used to have under 50 years of U.S. development aid. All of a sudden, in 2 or 3 years, Venezuela and Cuban technicians come in, patch a few power stations together, 3 of them, bring in the oil supply, a steady oil supply that benefits Haiti, and sure enough, there's electrical power. So it's an extraordinary transformation that happened.
The hypocrisy is incredible because we see how important energy is to the well-being of any country. Just after Cy Hirsch's interview, we see what they're doing in the Middle East. Haiti can't search for oil itself.
Kim, one thing I noticed that the cables that you've reported on so far show, they don't paint a very good portrait of Preval. In fact, that Preval was constantly telling the U.S. Embassy that I really don't like Chavez, I really didn't invite him. Right. But the embassy officials are saying he appears too weak to be able to stand up to his own people on issues like reaching a deal with Venezuela.
Well, really what Preval was using was an age-old Haitian tactic, which is called marronage, which is where you say one thing but you do another. And he was really playing the U.S., or what he thought he was playing. They ended up playing him because he was dealing with both sides. And as they say in Haiti, you had 2 candles for 2 saints, and the U.S. couldn't accept that. They said, you just have the candle for Washington, Ottawa, Paris. And so in that case, that's really why they've gone over to the Martelly camp, who is a completely U.S.-centric guy who's, I think, maybe going to go after some of the Cuban and Venezuelan projects.
Let's talk about Michel Martelly for a minute, the new president of Haiti. We were down there all together, Dan and Kim, for this election. When Martelly came into power, within a few weeks, at least 3 camps housing approximately 1,000 Haitians displaced from the earthquake were destroyed by police in the Delma suburb of Port-au-Prince. And he has said he will restore the army. The significance of this?
Yeah, I think he's going to go after the people. He said in an interview that these people had homes, in fact, that they were using the camps to party. I think that's what he was saying to an Al Jazeera crew. I mean, his cynicism on that front is incredible. And here's a guy who was the principal cheerleader for the 1991 and the 2004 coups. I mean, he's made no bones about it that he's a representative and friend of the army.
And what is interesting in the cables, in 2006, when President Preval was elected, who was part of the Lavalas movement, the popular and democratic movement that overthrew military dictatorships, the Duvalier dictatorship in the 80s, tried to institute a kind of popular and nationalist democratic government over the last 20 years. Preval becomes inaugurated. His first meeting is with the vice president of Venezuela. And in the National Palace, in the big white National Palace in Port-au-Prince, a mile away is a tanker in the port carrying 100,000 gallons of fuel, diesel, and unleaded gas from Venezuela. The new president of Haiti, Michel Martelly, 5 years later, first meeting is with the Colombian foreign minister, and his plan is the Colombian plan. Sharp contrasts, the different poles of Latin America, Bogota, Mexico City, versus Havana, Brasilia, Caracas. This is the struggle that was happening, and that these cables that WikiLeaks and Haïti Liberté, which published, make so clear.
Talk about what's coming in these Wednesdays to come. You have all the documents now.
Well, we have a piece next week on the blocks about sweatshops and looking at really how the U.S. was fighting the $5 a day minimum wage, which was being clamored for by the population, and said, no, it should be $3 a day. They saw that as way excessive. We have stuff on the militarization of the earthquake response, because as we saw, Amy, when we went down, they were bringing guns, not gauze. We have incredible portraits of a lot of the MREs, morally repugnant elite, and
And what you see in the cables already released up at WikiLeaks site or going to Haiti Liberté's website or even thenation.com is extreme micromanagement of Haiti by the embassy. It's